Welcome to the Northeastern Region RAC meeting. We're glad to have a few new members of the RAC committee here today, and I think we'll start out with just some introductions. Rather than picking on just the new guys, some of us older ones, we all just take a second to introduce who we are, what we represent, and maybe our occupations and interests. Nate, if you don't mind, we'll start down that end and go this way.
Sure. Nathan Crapo, representing the public in the RAC. Lived in the United Basin my whole life. Worked for Jones Paint and Glass, and just love wildlife and outdoors.
Brandon Lane, born and raised here in the basin. Worked for Caris Oil and Gas. Love, like the same thing, love wildlife, and I'm Eric Major. I represent the public at large. There'll be a later opportunity to fire me. I'm the interim chairman for Greenville today. Got 3 boys, live in Roosevelt, and I'm a civil engineer.
I'm Miles Hammer, the regional supervisor for the division.
I'm Jake Hubert, where I represent Sportsman. I work for Marathon Petroleum gas plant. And I'm a lifelong member of the basin. And so, wildlife, I'm excited to have a chance to represent the Sportsman's area.
I'm Natasha Haddon. I'm a wildlife biologist at the U.S. Forest Service. And I've been in the basin about probably 12 years, 13 years. So, and I have 2 boys, or 2 girls and a boy. An infant. One of them.
I'm Richard Mueller. I represent the public at large. I grew up in the basin and recently moved back. But always been out here, enjoying what we have out here. So very excited to be back here. I work, I'm a civil engineer and have 2 daughters.
I'm Dusty Carpenter. I work for the Bureau of Land Management, Field Office, and the Range Resources Department.
I mentioned that we have another new RAC member, Mark Chinwith. He told us quite some time ago this is the night he didn't make this year, so he asked to be excused. But Mark Chinwith is an associate professor at USU and the Wildlife Department, and he is going to be representing on the subject.
Anyone? Yes, others that are.
So Brad Borix, representing the elected official who asked to be excused tonight, as well as Richie Anderson representing agriculture. We also have Rebecca Jones, another non-consensus, Tim Ignacio representing the tribe, and Howard Harrison also representing agriculture.
And I don't think we have anyone calling in within our live audience. We'll go ahead and do the second item of business, approval of agenda and minutes. For those that were here from the last meeting, yes, we entertain a motion to approve the minutes or any corrections. I can make that motion for that.
I can make the motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you. Motion made by Natasha. Is there a second?
And they were second it. I'll second it.
Second by Jake. Thank you. All right. Third item is the wildlife board meeting update.
Do it.
Oh, sorry. Just vote by raising hands. All in favor? Any opposed? Unanimous. I've asked Miles to give an update on the wildlife board meeting. There was 2 meetings, I think, since we met.
So yeah, welcome Randy Durf here tonight. He's the chairman of the Utah Wildlife Board, so this here in Bernal, and he's here with us tonight. He can add anything if I miss. But this last wildlife board meeting was held. There weren't any items discussed at that RAC meeting or at that board meeting that came to the RAC. The items that were discussed were the expo permit audit. It's audit on the revenue generated from the tags that are offered at the Wildlife Conservation Expo, specifically the $5 application tags. So the audit went through the money generated as well as how that money is expended. So that audit passed unanimously by the board. And then the second item was the approval of expo permit allocations, the permit, specific permits and numbers that will be allocated the next Wildlife Conservation Expo. And that also was approved by the board with just one recusal due to a perceived conflict of interest. So anyhow, that was the major items at the board meeting. Also, I guess I would mention right now that we do have 2 new board members just started. Kent Johnson from the Southeast Region and Paula Richmond from the Southern. So those will be 2 new board members that just started. So, yeah, I think that's it.
Watch just roll into the regional update.
Okay. All right, so I guess Mike.
Can you go back one slide, Mike?
Yeah. Okay, for the regional update, I guess I'll start talking about this picture here. This is a new mural that was constructed or painted here in Vernal. It's on 1st West, East, sorry.
740.
Yeah, and on that corner right there. And so this is the second mural we painted in Utah. It's a result of a partnership with the Utah Wildlife Federation, as well as the Utah Cutthroat Trout Slam program. And so this is the second one. This was just completed here a couple of weeks ago. We had speakers and a ceremony to reveal the mural. So we're excited to have the second one in the state. I think the first one's in the Salt Lake area. The goal is each county would have a mural that depicts one of the native cutthroat trout species that is present in that area. So anyhow, it turned out really pretty cool, I think, and a lot of people are excited about it. So Natasha gets to be front and center in this picture this year, or this meeting. But this picture just shows Natasha holding a hummingbird. We had a hummingbird banding event at Red Canyon Lodge. There's about 183 people that participated in that, 35 birds captured. We had some recaptures as well from previous years' banding efforts. Overall, the numbers of hummingbirds captured were down this year, and it sounds like that's maybe been across the West with lower catch rates on hummingbirds. But it's a good opportunity for people to take a look at some of the birds and look at them up close and personal. It's not very often you get to really stop and look at a hummingbird. So the public really seems to enjoy that. We have an introduction fishing event on September 15th at Old Fort Ponds. This is going to be a bilingual event, so I've an interpreter there for the Spanish-speaking folks that choose to attend that event. So that'll be on starting at 5 p.m. on September 15th. We have our annual Uinta Basin Youth Pheasant Hunt. It's coming up on September 23rd at the Pleasant Valley Hunting Club. That'll be 8 to noon for Sandhill Crane Viewing Day is coming up October 7th. It'll be held in the Jensen area in the AM in the morning, and then there'll be viewing opportunities in the Valley area in the afternoon. So we'll just, I think we'll locate some cranes and some different fields and then kind of take people to those areas where we get a good look at them. This year, Kokanee salmon viewing day was canceled in the Sheep Creek area. This year, we're really concentrating on our spawning operations to capture snails, fish, so they won't be passing the fish up the stream from the trap this year. So it'll be a limited opportunity to view Kokanee at Sheep Creek. But there still is opportunities to view Kokanee and Strawberry Fish Trap and Strawberry Valley, as well as other locations in the state. So anyhow, that's unfortunate. We won't be able to have that this year, but it's for a good reason. Aquatics has been very busy, and the Flame Gorge Krill survey is done. I think Ryan and Jordan are back there doing some cartwheels and different things, but for those of you who don't know what a krill survey is, it's they go out a specific number of times throughout the period, probably close to every week or so, and just interview anglers to determine, what their success, what they're catching, and asking them questions about their preferences and different things. Gives us some good harvest information and really gets some information about angler preference. So anyhow, we'll be evaluating that data for quite a while, but it's good to have that done, and there'll be some good information coming from that. Just while I'm talking about Flame Gorge, just completed a hydroacoustic survey up there. It's a large boat, some pretty sophisticated sonar equipment that we do some transects up and down the reservoir to determine the number of targets of Kokanee salmon, young Kokanee salmon, and then with that we do a trawl that samples some of those fish and come up with a composition rate of population, percentage of the population that are actually Kokanee salmon. So it's a vital survey we do each year. It has to be done at night, so it's pretty interesting. Our folks have been really busy on rope loan projects this year. Finished the OE rope loan treatment that was up in the Iguanas, and then just recently, the last week, completed one on the South Fork Sheep Creek area. The cool thing while we're doing that project, we're able to stock Colorado cutthroat back into the Carter Creek drainage on the north slope. The lake's already been stocked with airplanes, but they're able to actually put some fish back in, get that going again. So that's exciting to build the fish back in. The next one, Mike. Law enforcement, they've been busy this time of year. It's extremely busy for officers, working lots of cases with baiting and trail cameras this year. So it continues to be something to get a lot of reports on and spend a lot of time trying to investigate those cases. There's been a couple of search and rescue efforts here recently, as well as this last weekend that our folks have been helping out on in the backcountry. So that's good to build us support search and rescue operations to help people out. Also, officers have been helping out with our cutthroat work and area surveys, safety officers, as well as actually helping on ground. Another cool thing that happened this year is the North American Wildlife Enforcement Officer Association Conference was held in Provo, and it's a good opportunity for all of our officers to get training and interact with law enforcement folks across North America. So that's a good opportunity. Habitat continues to be busy. Work with the Forest Service to install 2 guzzlers on Death Valley, and then they'll be working on 2 guzzlers up at Lake Mountain later this month. Completed a large guzzler on Moonshine Ridge in the Foot Cliffs on the east side, and then also been working on some spring developments on the west side of the cliffs. And this photo shows one of those spring developments with a tire trough. Tire troughs are really pretty durable and good designs to handle use by wildlife and livestock. So it's good to get the water out on the landscape and before you respond to that. Starting to work on some of the fire reseeding needs. Fortunately, or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, we only had a couple of fires in the region this year that weren't large acreages. Fortunately, for a lot of ways, they can cause some major impacts, but they also can do a lot of good in the right places as well. So, but we just have a couple of projects this year to work on. And then just a lot of restoration project work happens in the fall, seeding projects and other things. So, really start to kick off the project season right now. And then wildlife section, they just finished a mountain goat survey in the UNAs. It's an aerial survey a week or so ago. Goat numbers are down in the UNAs. There's been a little bit of a downward trend, but this last winter, it's like a pretty hard winter on a lot of things, but definitely had some declines in mountain goats. This is a couple of mountain goat kids from this year, so it's exciting to see some mountain goat kids back in the population. Everybody, the biologists, seeing lots of fawn deer out and about, so fawn deer seem to be doing pretty well with this wet spring and wet summer, so that's good. Hopefully we rebound after the hard winter experienced. Depredation is busy. We have elk in 2 places causing damage to cornfields and some of the agriculture areas, so that's taking some time for our depredation staff to deal with those issues. Spent a lot of time revising the South Slope elk plan, make it consistent with the statewide elk plan that was passed this last year. So we'll be seeing that come to the RAC here next meeting or 2. We haven't had a ton of bear issues this year. We've had a couple lately. One up in Uinta Canyon that was around some campsites. We actually, as a sow, we actually captured that bear and put a collar on that and took it out to an anthrol area. And it, interestingly enough, was back to Uinta Canyon in about 4 days. So, but the bear is not causing any issues, no problems in staying away. And so we've seen that a couple of times. Bears will go back, but sometimes they stay out of trouble after that. So pretty interesting stuff. We just had one over this last weekend up at Iron Springs, so it's causing some issues up there as well. The region will be collecting chronic waste disease samples again this year throughout the region. And, so we'll encourage people to come in and check stations, or if they'd like to come into the office and run around with us, we can talk about that. So I think that's it for my update for this RAC meeting. So does anybody have any questions? Okay.
Well, thank you. All right, I think we'll move on to Randy presenting the 2024 fishing recommendations. That's next.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Randy Oplinger. I'm an assistant aquatic section chief at DWR. One thing the DWR would like to do is we'd like to propose a couple of additional fishing regulations beyond those that were provided in our original presentation that was sent out. Specifically, we'd like to recommend the addition of 2 new community fishing waters here in the state. The first is the pond at Poultry Preserve, which is in West Haven, so in Davis County. And the other one is in Roosevelt, so Roosevelt Community Fishery. Both these community fisheries are scheduled to open in 2024. We are proposing these changes now, though, so they could be reviewed by the RACs and Wildlife Board. So we have regulations in place when they open next year. It's really our intent here by bringing them out right now. So really our formal fishing regulation changes that we're proposing for the 2024 guidebook are spearfishing regulation changes that you saw in the presentation, plus the addition of these 2 new community fisheries.
Maybe just for process for those that are newer, we'll have questions from the RAC, and then we'll go to questions from the public if there are some. Electronic comments from the public, we'll review those and then allow for public comment. And then we'll follow up with RAC comments and discussion, and then a call to the motion. Thank you. That's the proper way. Ken's showing us how to do that. So yeah, questions from the RAC for Randy on any of these proposed recommendations. I'd maybe have wanted to kind of break the ice. Could you maybe talk to, or the girls about community fishing ponds here locally? Could you talk to kind of the goals of that fishery? Is there, what's being stopped?
I think what I'll do is, Trina, do you want to address that since she's the regional manager and she's known better about the fishery and, you know, where it is, all those details about it.
If you need help.
Oh, okay, yeah. A little bit. Do I need to say my name and stuff?
Yes.
Trina Hendrick, I'm the regional aquatics manager here. Yeah, Natalie put together just kind of a very brief, just a fisheries management plan. And for right now, we're looking at channel catfish, bluegill, rainbow trout. And we're just kind of, we did a kind of a test run of rainbow trout and channel catfish. A little bit of concern with the channel catfish. So it's a little fluid right now, but it's mainly going to be just kind of what we call an opportunity water, where we're just really trying to give an opportunity for lots of different types of people and anglers to catch lots of fish, right? So we're not going to shoot for big fish. We're just going to shoot for hopefully good catch rates where people can go out in the evening after work, or kids can go and just have a fun time fishing. That's kind of the goal right now. But again, those species might change over time. We're kind of considering it kind of fluid as we just see what the condition is like there. Do you want me to add to it?
So the pond is located directly behind UNM Basin Medical Center in the northern part of the town and kind of fits the Duchesne County Trails Master Plan. And so there's a large nature park centered around the community fishery that allows patients from the hospital as well as community members and those traveling through the opportunity to get outside and away from, you know, the world per se. And the community fishing water is part of that nature park that's being established.
Any other questions?
On the spearfishing, how popular is spearfishing here?
I'm not sure. We do every 5 years a statewide angler survey that really is intended to give us kind of a pulse of what our angling public looks like. And one of the questions we asked in the most recent iteration of that survey was, what's your favorite fishing tackle? And one of the options in that was spearfishing, and it came out, I think, about 1% of our anglers. I think when we dig a little deeper into it, I think there's, you know, a solid group who do it regularly, and then some contingent who have maybe done it, who indicate on the survey they've done it, but they're not very active in it. So it's a small group, but it's out there. It's a very vocal, you know, group. They're very involved and very passionate about their sport.
Any other questions from the RAC? Okay, we'll move to questions from the public. I guess it's just a comment first. So I think with questions, we'll try to keep it to a question and then there will be opportunity to comment. Is there any questions from the public? You have one from state your name. Okay, we'll go ahead and review the electronic comments from the public.
Okay, I think all the RAC members should receive those as well. I'll just go for those. We had 2 people comment on this agenda item. One was strongly opposed. That was actually the Utah English Coalition that supported the recommendations of the division. The second was a comment regarding lack of regulations proposed for cocaine. I think is their comment. They're the person that strongly disagreed with the proposal. So just a few comments.
We'll move to public comments. Ken Strong, you're
Ken Strong, representing Sportsmen for Fish and Wildlife. First of all, I want to congratulate all of you for your time spending on the RAC. I just finished my 8 years, so I know what you have to go through. I know what it's like. Sometimes it can be tough. And sometimes you get called a lot of names. I also want to congratulate the region on their plans coming up this month and the youth pheasant hunt and so forth. I really appreciate that. On behalf of Sportsmen for Fish and Wildlife, we would like to support the division in their plan that they have come up with. We're behind it 100%. And we think they've done an excellent job with this. Thank you.
We'll go ahead and have any additional RAC comments or discussion.
This one's just for the spearfishing thing, right? We're not talking about the flame board stuff, right?
I think that will come, give informational discussion on that, which I kind of have the same thought. I remember two community sheep waters, right? Any other discussion or comments? There's been some service opportunities down at the community, or the Roosevelt Nature Park, and this community water. I think there's, at least the one that I was aware of, there was quite a few people from the hospital and community rallied together to clean up and stuff. And that's a great thing. So thank you for everyone's efforts there. All right, if there's no other comments or discussion, we'll go ahead and entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the 2024 fishing recommendations as presented.
I'll second it.
Second by Chris. Those in favor, say aye. Raise your hand. Any opposed? Unanimous there. Motion passes. All right, we'll move to item number 6, private pond rule amendments. And that's
Yeah, I just briefly want to point out that in our original presentation, we mentioned that we were in the process of working with the Virgin River Fish Recovery Program to identify some additional species of fish as possibilities for being stocked in the Virgin River drainage. That Virgin River Recovery Program is really a consortium that consists of several federal, state, and local partners. They work towards recovering endangered fishes in the Virgin River drainage. What we've been doing since recording the presentation is we've really formalized a new memorandum of understanding with that group that basically outlines some additional fish species that can be stocked in that drainage. So to kind of amend the proposal that we put forward, I mentioned in the presentation that we were going to bring forward 2 to 4 additional species for stocking them out. We've got that formal list of species now. So the list of species that we're basically proposing to add for stocking opportunities in the Virgin River drainage, in addition to the rainbow trout, largemouth bass, and bluegill that are already allowed in private ponds in that drainage, are whiteper, black crappie, triplet, grass carp, and tiger trout.
any questions from the RAC? It's the question I had, because I'm not super well versed with some of those fish, but several of those are sterile. Which ones of the new ones are not sterile?
The only one, let's see here, the only one's black crappie that's not sterile. And I should point out these stocking opportunities are emphasized in ponds that are off a natural stream channel, and they're screened, and that's really important to us because on a natural stream channel, anything that's on a natural stream channel, that stream channel is kind of a highway that could lead fish out of that pond into another river drainage. We're not allowing that to lease without extensive review, and having screens in place, screens prevent escape of fish. So those are some additional criteria that are in there as part of this.
How are they screened? What are they screening them? What do they do to keep them?
Our criteria really says it has to be screened in such a manner that it contains whatever fish that are stocked. And it kind of stops there. I think you see a variety of different flaggers used for screening. In some cases, we've got ponds that truly are dead ends. I mean, like there's no spigot that puts water in and it just evaporates. There's obviously no screen on those. Some, it's more of a standpipe kind of setup where you've got a pipe and water flows to the top of the pipe out of drain. Sometimes there's a screen over it. So really it depends on the situation, I guess is my point. But the intent there is ponds need to be screened in such a manner that it prevents the fish that are being stocked from escaping. There's some latitude in how you accomplish that. It depends somewhat on the pond you've got, the design of that pond.
They need to be like a certain distance from the floodplains.
Under recovery agreements that we got for the Colorado River drainage, so really anything in this part of the state, it's not just the Colorado River, but in any tributary of the Colorado River system, it has to be outside the 100-year floodplain. That's kind of the one criteria, and it can't have direct connectivity to the Colorado River or any tributary to it.
There's no like certain size on the screen.
There's no screen. It has to be whatever size contains the size of the fish for stock. So if you're buying large fish, you buy a larger screen, smaller fish, you get a smaller screen.
I'm just familiar with it on the river, when you're sucking on the river. You have to have a certain size screen to suck up any, that type of deal. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, most of the fish get stocked are probably 3 inches or larger. So you're looking at probably half-inch size screen or larger. And again, it depends a little bit on the species that's stocked.
They're generally aiming for bigger fish anyways. They don't want that kind of things.
Does the industry, have they received feedback from them much on the
The feedback we received from the industry, so what we did with this rule is we developed it and then we took it to a meeting that the industry regularly attends. So the Sean Policy Board meeting, we gave the industry the opportunity to weigh in on the rule during that meeting. And we were using that meeting as really kind of a screening before we took it out to the RAC and Wildlife Board to see what the industry perceptions are. We got no feedback from the industry that they were supportive, but we've heard nothing since that meeting that would lead us to think that they're thinking about supporting the exchange.
Is it fairly popular? Do you feel like there's quite a few private ponds out there?
Yeah, there's a decent number. I don't know if I could come up with an exact number. I'm sure it's over 100 across the state. So I think probably every year we see. We have to review COR applications, maybe 50 or so applications come across our desk every year. Those CORs last for multiple years, so it's not 50 per year. There's more out there. That's kind of what we see.
Any other questions from RAC? We'll go to questions from the public. Any questions of the public? Electronic comments from the public.
Just had one comment submitted that was again from the Utah Angler Coalition, and they support the proposal.
Public comments, I believe Kenny also listed item 6.
Ken Strong with Sportsman for Fish and Wildlife. First of all, I'd like to congratulate Randy for becoming the chair. I've worked with him over the years, and he's a great individual. Sportsman for Fish and Wildlife is strongly behind the proposal that has been made by the division. We think that they're headed in the right direction. I know there's some of the public that disagree with them, but it's a great organization. They work hard, and we have the best fishing in the state of Utah. Thank you.
Any other, and has a really cool fishing hat, right? I just realized I'm kind of missing the mics. I don't know if you get it or
So
not. but
just make sure the mics are right here and the owls. So just make sure you speak really loud because they said they can't hear you.
It will watch for me. No, thank you for that. Any comments or discussion on this item? Okay, if not, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the private bond agreement as presented.
Toss is on a roll.
Say it loud. So make sure you say heard first and second so that the mic can hear you.
Okay, so we have a motion from Ms. Osh and a second from Dave. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. We'll have a couple regional presentations. Both of them, Shannon, go ahead and start with Big Sand Wash Reservoir Fisheries Management Plan.
So I don't actually have anything to add from the presentation that hopefully you guys were all able to see, but I'm more than happy to just respond to questions and let you know kind of the process if you want.
I had a quick question. I think Sand Wash, and I apologize, I choked on it. Peppermint earlier, so. So, I think Sand Wash is such a great place for this, but I know there's like limited public access around it. Like, is there a long-term plan to maybe like increase much more than you just touched on?
No, that's unfortunately just really difficult. That whole, I guess it's the west side, I think that's a major sticking point for a lot of people, but there's just no way around that. Like because a lot of that property was along that north side was deeded over to Moon Lake water users from, the US government, your reclamation maybe, but there's just no way to make that happen. And then with UDOT concerns along that west side highway where people used to be able to access, they're just not interested in taking on that kind of risk, I guess. So it just kind of is a dead end, but a lot of that on the east side is accessible. So from the dam and all the way, there's three major access points on the east side. And then you can, low water get kind of further around towards the west too. So it was unfortunate, but that was not something that we could really tackle in that, or at all. It is what it is at this point.
We've been busy with some improvements there at the lower end.
Yeah, we're gonna put in again for some funding to pave it, hopefully, kind of to go along with that chip seal. We'll have to redo the chip seal, I think, here in a year or two. I've got money to do some fencing work to just kind of improve the access on that southeast side going towards the dam and then out to the point, just kind of direct traffic a little bit better. And put up some signs, just letting folks know there are people that live around that area. And they have expressed concerns, just, overnight usage, which is not allowed there. So just trying to make it a really pleasant place for people to go during the day and just have a great recreational experience, either fishing or boating or whatever they're doing.
I noticed that it said that the yellow perch, I think, were introduced illegally.
Yes.
But you're still planning on keeping them there?
Yeah, there wasn't much support there wasn't any support for rodent treatment. So at that point, really rodent treatment is the only way to effectively remove all of those fish species and to do a reset and start over. So without support for rodent treatment, then you have to just say, okay, well, what we have there is what we have there. And so what do we want to do with those species? And to be honest, the yellow perch have been very popular over the last few years. I think we've almost loved them to death, right? But then the walleye coming on definitely has been another kind of impact on that population too. So we're just trying to, I guess, just say, okay, it was an illegal introduction, but that's what's here now, and people are enjoying them. So how can we enhance that enjoyment? How can we make that a fishery that lasts into the future? Because yellow perch is, just kind of talking about some of the recovery program work, we are kind of limited on the species that we can stock, but yellow perch is acceptable as long as there's like some kind of screen or the risk to getting into downstream sources is negligible. So yellow perch is an acceptable one. So it's like, okay, well, all the fish are eating them, people are enjoying them. So.
Speaking of the perches, what's the size? I know for a while there was a lot of really small perch with this predation. What's the average size of the
I guess I shouldn't speak to that, but if you, call me next week, I can give you that information. I haven't looked at the data for this year. I can tell you though, I do remember just for putting this together, smallmouth bass size is increasing, and we are, you probably saw, like, we have a goal for a quality fishery, it's a quality smallmouth bass fishery there, and we're actually seeing that, so that average size is increased, and then individuals, like you may not see a ton of the what we call memorable, like that really larger size class that's really prized. We might not see a lot of them, but we are seeing them, so, and I would directly attribute that to creation. Just a reduction in the population, maybe a little bit of competition too, but, so probably, but I can't remember the date off the top of my head on the yellow perch.
I was having nightmares of filleting a lot of little small perch from a bunch of Boy Scouts.
Well, now you're more likely to get walleye out there, at least for 2 years, I guess. They cycle through.
Any other questions? We'll go ahead and roll into the next one while you're there. Flaming Gorge Fisheries update.
Yeah, nothing to add to that, except I guess I would just say, hopefully everyone received the email that I sent. There was there's a petition and then a letter that some folks wanted to make sure that you all saw. They couldn't be here at this meeting. So I guess I'll just bring that up, some of those concerns that we've been hearing. And that's kind of why we put together that presentation, just to acknowledge the concerns that we're hearing that they have. Some of the concerns are increasing numbers of lake trout, decreasing kokanee. I think that's probably the crux of it, really. That's kind of it in a nutshell. So I guess just so you all know, we're not ready to talk specific things that we're doing. We've got, and hopefully I emphasized it adequately in the presentation, we've got a lot of information that we've collected this year, even with that creel that Miles mentioned, the tagging study, just the data that we typically collect. We just need time to collate that this year. And we're talking with Wyoming right now about potential regulations, given some of the preliminary data. So we are working on it, but we're just not ready to talk about specifics right now, just because there is so much information that hasn't been fully analyzed yet. So it's, I guess, the upshot really for us is we are hearing people, we're seeing it out on the reservoir as well, some of these concerns, but we really want to make sure that we understand what's happening as best we can, because I think you run the risk of implementing the wrong regulation or implementing the wrong management action if you don't fully understand what's happening.
Questions from the RAC? I guess I could have asked if there was any questions from the public team. Informational, but any other questions that RAC members have?
So is that why you're waiting till 2025 to implement like a 2-fish limit and on the kokanee to work with Wyoming and look at all the data? Is that why you're waiting till then?
It does take time to work through things with another state. We have been having discussions about maybe we can kind of expedite the process on our side and implement something a little bit sooner than that, but we just need to make sure we're still on the same page with Wyoming. It sounds like they're not able to implement a change until January 1st, 2026. Unfortunately. So if we do make a change, we're gonna be in a totally with Wyoming. So that's a little frustrating, but like I said, we are hearing people. And so we're having those discussions. Maybe we can implement something sooner, but it would represent a pretty significant change, because normally we would be working through the public process next spring for a change, like you said, January 1, 2025. It's possible, it's just, we need to make sure that it's the right course of action, because it's a pretty major change. If that makes sense.
Is there like the preliminary sport, because read that email that you sent, some of the petition and stuff, made it sound like it says dire or something in terms of coping numbers.
Yeah, so, COVID numbers are down. They do cycle though, they really do. And one of the letter from Bill, I believe it was, talked about, 2021 and 2022 were like these really low production years, and, but some of the, relative to like what, 2016 to 2020, but within those years, we saw way above average, right? So just some of the highest production years that we've ever seen. And so it's just kind of it's a strange comparison. We try to look at the average and numbers are down over the average. And I think more concerning than that is the recruitment that we're seeing. Because like I said, they do cycle, but typically you'll be able to follow the age 0, age class 2, age 1, and age 2, in some decent numbers. And there is concern there. I'm not gonna lie, there definitely is concern there. But what's the driver of that? I think we get a better understanding of that. So we're not panicking yet, right? We're good. We're not panicking yet. So, but we are really working hard towards trying to find a solution for sure.
I'll kind of build on it. I mean, we definitely understand the concerns of the anglers on this. But, as Trina said, we want to make sure we make the right decision. There's a serious risk if we jump to a conclusion, make the wrong decision, put the wrong management suite of changes in, that could lead to, some serious implications to the fishery. So we're taking our time, making sure we basically make one set of changes and that's the right set of changes. We've got some ongoing data. But Trina is right. We're coming from a situation where, the fishery was historically high in terms of opening numbers 5-ish years ago. And now we're about a third below our average. So it's below average, but it's not, way, way below average either, if that makes sense. And also in the same time frame, there's been some other things that have happened, like severe drought conditions that have had significant impacts on the recruitment of kokanee in the fishery. Honestly, over 50% of the kokanee in that fishery are naturally born fish, and anything that impacts those, like drought, is going to have an impact on those fish. And unfortunately, as much as we like to control weather, droughts out of our control. It is part of the reason we see these kind of cyclic up and downs in that fishery. We're just in a down right now, but it's not historic down.
So with the lake coming back up, you feel like it should help.
I think we've got our fingers crossed. I think in principle, it should help. We're starting to trap, get an idea of the run strength right now. It's too early to say anything, but fingers crossed. I think really we'll see the benefit though a few years from now, get higher levels, hopefully a little better survival, a little bit better natural reproduction. Hopefully that translates, 3-ish years down the road.
Questions? Any other questions? All right, we'll go ahead and move on. Thank you for your presentations. I think our only other item of business is probably discussing chairman and vice chair.
Yeah, I can kind of kick that off a little bit. Brett Brevedale's term, his second term expired. Well, Daniel Davis, Brett was our chair, and Daniel Davis is our vice chair. So that left us without a chair at our last meeting in the spring. We didn't have a quorum. We really couldn't make any decisions as far as a new chair moving forward. So Eric agreed, and the RAC member agreed to have Eric be our interim chair for this meeting. And so, today we need to find a new chair and vice chair. So let me just kind of give you what it might entail. You're going to prepare for the RAC meeting just as you do now, but you have to lead the RAC meeting, and Eric did a great job tonight, just going through, calling for the public comments and things in that order. So there's that, and the second part is attending the wildlife board meeting in Salt Lake. It's usually at the Farmington Wildlife Center, the Wildlife Center in Farmington. And so the RAC chair represents the regional regional RACs at the board meeting. So with that being said, there is the option of attending virtually for those that might have hardship traveling to the board meeting. Certainly, we want the RAC or the public body to represent the public at that meeting, but the cases for regional supervisors will actually be looking for the RAC chair as well if needed. So any travel that you do as a RAC chair to the wildlife board meeting is reimbursable for mileage, and so that helps out as well. So they're run through the process. Of course, I'm here to help the RAC chair anytime they may need with running the meeting and going through the process. So it can be time consuming in some ways, but I think it's not really too bad. Kind of understand the basic Robert's Rule of Order. That's kind of how it works forward. So ideally, we'd have a chair and a vice chair that we'd like to have, and the vice chair would fill in case of absence of the chair. So with that being said, it's kind of maybe blindsiding some of our new RAC members as well, but we would probably look to have a discussion or have some nominations or volunteers, perhaps, however the RAC would like to do that to fill those two roles. The other thing I'll mention about the chairs, they typically do not vote, but they can participate in discussion as much as possible. In the case of a tie, the RAC chair would cast the final vote to break that tie. That happens in wildlife board quite a bit, it seems like, but the RAC's usually pretty unanimous, or not very often the chair has to vote, but the chair still gets to participate and have their opinions and thoughts portrayed in the RAC process. So with that being said, I guess maybe I would leave that up to the RAC to start discussing who you would like to represent you as the RAC public process.
So Miles, does it have to be determined tonight? Can we, do it through email like we've done in the past, or how do you?
We can do that. Eric's a busy person, and so I don't know if we can convince Eric to be interim another time, but there might be an option. But it'd probably be nice to have some nominations perhaps tonight, and then we could vote on those through email and have that take place next time. So that would be an option as well.
I was thinking we could also take on those that didn't show up tonight. The new ones as well. I told Miles this, just to be on the record. I told him I would love to be the RAC chair sometime. Right now, I've probably said yes to too many things in life. So I was advised by my other boss at home that I shouldn't keep saying yes. So that's my only hesitation.
Out of the 4 members that are not here, which ones have terms coming up? They're ending soon.
So let me go back to the list.
Rebecca, Richie, Brad, and Mark that aren't here, and Mallory, and Tim.
Yeah, so Brad is in his second term as well as Richie, and Rebecca is actually into her second term as well. Back when we were talking about nominations in the last cycle, Rebecca felt like she was probably too stretched of a time to be able to be a RAC chair at that time. So I'm not sure she would be willing at this point, but if she was here, she could speak for herself on that one, but that's kind of where we're at.
So how long are you as the RAC chair? I mean, you as
Okay.
4 years?
A RAC chair could serve as a 2-year term, but they can be reappointed for a second 2-year term. With that being said, I don't think it'd be against the rules or policy for somebody to serve as a RAC chair for a year and then
There you go.
have somebody else do it. So
I'll throw a nomination out there. I nominate Grizz Elaine. I've seen him run meetings before. I know he's got a lot of energy. I think he's responsible and likable and just a solid person. I think he'd be great.
Well, thank you. Won't take too good of a picture.
I think Rebecca would be good too. She's not here. I'd like to officially nominate Chris.
Yeah.
He's got 7.5 more years to go.
Miles, you guys can also earn dedicated hunter credit for the hours that you're spending unless you're working for your agency. So just keep that in mind too, that you guys do earn credit if it helps persuade anyone.
Yeah. I guess I'd just say, you know, it can be intimidating, I think, to be the person who's leading the meetings and that, but I really don't think it's a huge burden for folks either, so, like I say, definitely work hand in hand and make sure that it's good. Again, if the RAC wants to make more nominations, or if Grizz is willing and they want to make that official vote, I'll leave that up to the RAC to decide. But we also want to think about a vice chair as well.
I'll give it a try, I guess. I'll do it.
Can I ask you how are you feeling on to make it out to the board meetings?
Yeah, probably so.
I think you do also as well.
So if you'd like, somebody can make the motion and we could vote on it that way, or we can do a vote over email if there's no other candidates.
I make a motion that we, vote through email, just to maybe, like a little.
That's fine.
Drive some folks who are kind of feeling put on the spot under the owl.
Any other nominations for the chair? Or volunteers, as far as that goes.
So there is no other nomination, it's a nomination by default.
The people who aren't here, they maybe want to nominate somebody or themselves.
Okay.
Potentially.
Do that. We can give them the option to nominate someone else over email, and then we can do probably what we've done in the past is pass out a sticky note, and they can vote whoever they like. We can do that. But I think it would be nice to leave here with a nomination for a vice chair.
I would be happy to do the vice chair unless someone else wants to.
Okay, Eric's nominated for vice chair. Okay, well, I will send out an email to either 2 nominations and call for any additional nominations. And if there are not, we'll either handle it through a vote or possibly a motion if there's no additional nominations.
So, sorry, Miles, I hate to be the weak link here. Who is the sportsman's representative right now on the RAC? Right now, that's what I thought.
Grizz and Jake. Yeah. Okay. So Eric, are you willing to run the next RAC meeting to get through this whole thing? The RAC support that?
I will look at my email closer and try to be half hour early for the real time and not.
I haven't talked to you.
I had it at 6:30 and I was just looking at stuff, waiting at a stoplight, and I thought, are you kidding me? I was so prepared to be early and a little more prepared, so apologize.
I will do that. I will send out the email, and we can take care of that at the next meeting. So Eric will represent the RAC at the board meeting coming up in the 21st. So with that, the only other business you have is just a motion to adjourn. So
Motions to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Motion by Grizz and second by Dusty. Adjourn.